Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Digital Studio. I am your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, here with an informational video on how to read the label on a game at Surugaya. Now, Surugaya has a lot of locations across Japan, from Fukuoka to Tokyo to Osaka, Kobe. There's a lot of them, but I believe that this label is standard across all of the stores. Now, I could be wrong. Some of the stores might be using different labels. This one specifically was from the Surugaya in Akihabara, their big game shop that's down one of the side streets. So what I've done is I have translated everything that I could on this. I'll have this image up on my website in the informational area about Surugaya. Probably you'll just need to search on Google how to read a Surugaya label. Hopefully you can find it there, or just go to my website, jcontra.com. You can see a picture of this for your own reference for when you're actually in the shop and you need to know what each of these things mean. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break each part of this down. I'll explain just what's going on with this, and just talk about the label and what you need to know when you're buying a game from Surugaya. I should know. Well, actually, we'll just get into that. So we'll talk about what this game actually is. So if we look at the very top left, or sorry, at the very top, we've got the barcode. Underneath it, on the very far left, is DC, and that's the system, because this game is for the Sega Dreamcast. Now, a lot of the times, I know at least for like their GameCube stuff, this is going to be in katakana, but of course you've got the game. Like this is just actually from the game itself, so you'll know what you're looking at. But a lot of this stuff is not going to be in English, although because it's the Dreamcast, they just put DC there. Then we go over to the far right, and we have the genre. This is, what is this? This is like a 2D action fighting game is what it is in English. Beneath the system, we've got the game title. And you can see this is Capcom versus SNK2 Millionaire Fight for the Sega Dreamcast. Now, a lot of the times this is also going to be only in Japanese, so it's not going to tell you what the English, unfortunately, is for the particular game. Beneath the game title, we've got the price on release. Now, this is something that is commonly done across most secondhand game stores. If you're not familiar with what Surugaya is, probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, but Surugaya is a sort of chain of secondhand otaku goods, that kind of store. So we're talking, what it does is its main clientele is just people coming in and selling and sort of trading in their anime figures, plastic model kits, games, posters, anime merchandise, a lot of different things. And actually, if you've seen the video, or if you've seen, like, say, for example, a hard-off label, it's very common for these Japanese secondhand stores to give you what the original price on release was of this thing, to show like, wow, you're saving a whole lot of money. Now, what's hilarious to me is when one of these games does really shoot up in price, you'll have like the original price on release was like $50, but then the very big price that you'll actually be paying on the bottom right says like $600. Just because you have to realize this particular label is meant for a lot of different items, not just for video games. And a lot of those other different items, you know, like your anime figures, generally tend to go down in price over time, not up in price, as opposed to some video games. So the price on release here, so when Capcom vs. SNK2 first came out for the Dreamcast, when did it come out? Oh yeah, on September 13th, 2001, it cost 6,800 yen, which probably around that time would have been about $62, $63. I'm actually not, I should have checked this. I should have checked out what the exchange rate was in 2001, but today that exchange rate would make it about $63. And if you look on the right, that is the release date. Now, what's interesting about Japanese dates is it goes year, month, day. So we've got 01, that's 2001, 09, September 13th. So oh man, oh actually I didn't realize, oh man, I didn't realize how ominous date September 13th, 2001 would have been. I can't believe this actually still even came out on that day. Actually, I believe the GameCube came out on September 11th, 2001 in Japan. So yeah, ooh, didn't realize that. So going beneath that, we've got two different prices. So we've got two different smaller prices adding up to a big price. We've got on the left, we've got the base price. That is the price that they established for this game before tax. On the right, we've got the amount of tax that is going to be applied to this game. So in Japan, there is a national 10% sales tax. This does not change where you are. If you're an American like me, you know that when you're in a different state, you're going to pay a different amount of tax. Not so in Japan, where it is just 10% no matter where you are. Now, there's things where if you're like, I think if you're like buying food, it's like 8%, or if you're buying something that's takeout, or you're buying food that's takeout, it's 10%, but if you're eating in, it's 8%. I don't know. There's different taxes for different things, but for video games, I can guarantee you it is 10%, no matter where you're buying it. Now, I do not know if Surugaya does tax-free. I've only ever been in Japan as a resident, so I was not eligible for it. But there are different stores, like Mandarake is an example, where if you bring your passport, you show them the stamp in it, or I don't even know if they do stamps anymore, but just bring your passport, show it to them, they will take the tax off of the final price. Now, this is useful at a place like Mandarake because actually Mandarake does not include the tax in its prices. Surugaya does. Now, because you see here, you've got the base price of 2,300 yen. You've got the tax of 230 yen, 10% of 2,300. Add them together. What's your final price? It is 2,530 yen. Now that is about what, $23, I want to say, as of the filming of this video. Of course, it's going to be different depending on when you're watching this, but right now it's about 107, 108 yen to the dollar. Now, you'll notice the kanji on the left, and maybe actually, yeah, maybe I should have translated those, but you've got the big ones at the very top of that small little box on the bottom left. That says it's used. Surugaya does have new games from time to time, although I believe those labels are actually in like a blue. Like it's not the pink or the orange that you see here. It's actually in a blue. But here it's just used, and then the kanji beneath that means it's tax inclusive. Now on the very bottom left, I suspect that's the date when they either like they processed this game. So if I had to guess, actually, when did I buy this game? I bought it the middle of March. And if I didn't translate this because I'm not 100% sure, but this is just my guess, is that the 20 and the 03 and the 11, that means this game was processed, or the label was printed out, it was priced and put out on the show floor on March 3rd, March 11th, 2020. That's just my guess. You do actually tend to see that on a lot of labels. Maybe that's useful for you if you want to know how long this game has been sitting out. I guess this would have been put out in March, or no, did I buy it in April? No, actually, yeah, I would have bought this actually at the end of April. So this had been sitting there for about a month and a half by the time I picked it up. Now, there's a couple of things that could be missing from this label. What I should note is that Surugaya will put on their games, if there are scratches on the disc or if there is some damage to the manual, they will usually label that. Although it will be, for one, it'll be like on like a green bordered label that is separate from this price tag. Or they will put something next to the title where it'll say but it'll say it in kanji, so it can be very hard to understand it depending upon your level of Japanese. That is like there is a problem with this, and that's why it's at a reduced price, but they won't show you what like their original base price is. It'll just show you the reduced price. And I'll actually get into that in a separate video where I talk about game condition at Surugaya, because I've actually been kind of burned by that before. But I want to say that in general, they will be upfront about certain damage to the particular product. Although what I should say is, and actually I wonder if I can bring that up here. Please bear with me for a second as I try to add... Oh no, actually no, sorry, I did not bring that with me into this digital studio. What I should say is that for this particular copy of Capcom versus SNK 2 is that there were some very very visible cracks in the jewel case. Now the CD itself is fine. The obi, the spine cover that came with it is fine, but I wish they had have labeled that, because when I was looking through it, it's very dark in that particular store. So at least for me, I just completely missed that. It's not that big of a deal. This was actually a little bit cheaper than where I had seen it elsewhere, and I don't really care that much. But if that's something that you and your particular collecting habits might not like, I would be very careful about picking up games at Surugaya, especially if you can't read Japanese, because they may not go out of their way to label it. They usually do, but sometimes they do not. Otherwise, yeah, the label here is pretty straightforward. Like most Japanese store labels, it's got the price that you need to care about is the one that is printed in big numbers. Other than that, if you have any questions about this particular label, if you have any questions about Surugaya or about shopping for video games in Japan, please let me know in the comments. If I wasn't clear about anything and you'd like me to follow up or maybe even make a whole new video, please also let me know. I want this to be as informative and as clear, as understandable as possible. That's it for me. That's it for reading this particular label. I'm trying to do this for all the shops that I've bought stuff from so that you can be more informed when shopping for video games in Japan. I have been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, saying thanks for watching, see you next time, and mahalo.